I would like you guys to imagine a much younger and much nerdier version of myself walking into a public library in Second Ward, Houston. I approached the dusty wooden bookshelf and directed straight for the on hold bookshelf where I had my books on hold for weeks. Because at 8.5 years of age, I knew how to use my own library card, order and check out my own books. However, as I was getting closer to the librarian at the checkout desk, she leaned over, squinted, and whispered that the books in Espanol were in the right backhand corner of the library. I was so shocked by her comment that I simply handed her the books I had on hold and made a straight line for the books in Espanol in the right backhand corner of the library and took those home. That lady had assumed that I couldn't read in English, perhaps because my eyes were too brown, or perhaps because I still smelled like my mother's overly spiced Mexican food, or probably because my uniform was stained with ketchup, or maybe because I was alone. I was labeled as illiterate simply because of how I looked. But today, I won't completely focus on all the ways labels are misinterpreted and misused. Instead, I'm going to share with you all today my collection of wrappers and stickers. These are my labels that have been stuck and wrapped around me since that day at the library. The words in black are my sticker labels. Sticker labels are ones I have more control over and can change them with more ease if I wanted to. The words in orange are my wrappers, which are the identifiers I was born into this world with, the things that wrap around me. Even though it is much harder to change my wrappers, none of them have really proven to be an obstacle to make my parents proud. One of my biggest wrapper labels has been being an older sister, has been being a student. It is, in fact, my single greatest accomplishment, just being a student. Becoming a student was predestined for me. I didn't choose to become a student, but something I did have control over was the fact that I love going to school. Now I know what some of y'all are thinking. Nerd. And you are absolutely correct, really. I really am a nerd. I love learning and making sense of the confusing world where I had to do adult things like do my taxes, flush the toilet in the middle of the night, clean up the leftover toothpaste in the bathroom sink. However, I was not always proud of owning up to this label that others used with me because of the context that they used it in. I was not only labeled as a nerd, but as a tryhard and a teacher's pet too, and I was ashamed of it. I remember the countless times during middle school where I spent my lunch times in the library just reading by myself. But thanks to my studiousness, my work ethic, and my close relationships with my mentors, I am college bound and ready to become a student at Carleton College. However, even after I graduate with my degrees, I will continue to be a student. I will still be learning from my surroundings and from my everyday experiences. I will never stop being a student, and that's truly exciting. If I am a nerd, I get to decide what that looks like for my nerd community. So I choose to finally be proud to embrace this label because I am pursuing a higher education, not only to repay my parents for their sacrifices, but also for my better understanding of the world I live in. I am the first kid in my family. I am 17 years old, my brother Ernesto is the weird age of 13, and my sister Vanessa is a satisfying age of 11. And I remind of this every single day. I don't let them forget it. And I know they're ready for me to leave for college. But I'm glad to leave them knowing that I have shown them how to be bossy and assertive and take what they want. I fully embrace this label because it makes me into the leader I am today. If it weren't for the responsibilities I had to take as an older sister, I would not be as accepting or as open to take on challenges and overcoming them without too much discouragement. Physically, I look white, and it is also the checkbox I mark under the race portion of every single application I've been told to fill out. I am usually not in settings where I'm surrounded by white people, so my Hispanic community uses Spanish slang words used to describe Anglo-Saxons, such as gringa and güera, because they think I'm American born. And a very clear example of when I've been confused in my identity because of my pale complexion but my very spicy inside was whenever it was time for me to prepare for my 8th grade AP Spanish and language culture exam. And the Spanish that we get tested on during that exam is not the same Spanish I'm used to speaking at home. It's a Spanish that is spoken in Spain, and that's not the Spanish I was used to. So learning where to place the accents and how to conjugate weird verbs was very difficult for me. So the only other reliable source, aside from Google, were my parents at home. And when I asked them to help me out with the homework assignments and all the test prep material, they looked at me and said, "When have you become too Americanized to recognize and speak your own home culture, your own home language?" But to this day, I'm very accepting of this label because it is what I look like, and it looks like I'm very privileged. However, this rapper label is not fully accepting of me in return, because I do not have all the privilege of a documented white person in the United States of America. Within the social and political status quo of the word immigrant, it's practically slanderous. It is looked down upon because of the negative connotation with illegal immigration. The very president of this nation misused the label immigrant, and because of the president's platform and because of the high speed of social media, the public believes, spreads, and propagates this same negative connotation about immigrants. For a very long time, I was very used to using my previous label of white and hiding inside of it and not telling people of my true origin. Not every immigrant is a terrorist. Not every immigrant is a rapist. Not every immigrant is a criminal. Not every immigrant is a drug dealer or a problem maker, because I know for sure that I am not one. In reality, most immigrants enter the country with wanting to pursue the American dream, establish a new home for their family, and work. Most, not just some, immigrants are good people. In my case, I too am undocumented and a DACA beneficiary. I benefit from the Deferred Action of Childhood Arrivals policy. I thought it was a joke when it was announced that it was rescinded on September 5th. It didn't hit me until the day after, when my college access coordinator texted me frantically talking about our next steps for my college application process, as if this rescindation was going to completely change the way I was going to enter college and enter the rest of my life because of my legal status, or lack thereof. I remember calmly replying that I would put my faith in the small window of time that Donald Trump granted to Congress. And I just left it at that. I was born in Guanajuato, Mexico, and I was relocated to the United States of America at 9 months old, before I could walk on my own or utter a single word by myself. And thanks to that, more colleges wanted me because I filled their diversity quotas as a Mexican-born, middle-class, and DACA beneficiary. I wholeheartedly embrace this label because it represents how my soul can still be fed and nurtured by my Mexico, while I simultaneously learn how to live and thrive in my USA. People often equate labeling with bullying, when that is not the case at all. It is when the label is used to demean and marginalize others that the label becomes toxic. A wise man once said, "There are no bad words, only bad intentions." Generalizing a label in its usage has weakened the purpose of labels, and this leaves the person being labeled feeling weaker, especially if you marginalize them for a label they have no control over, a rapper. If you really think about the question, what are labels? They are not intended to hurt you, but rather they are meant for others to organize you, to categorize you, simply for organizational matters. A label is a sticker when you can change it and layer it up. A label is a wrapper when you are born with it and it is more apparent. The reason why labels are so important is because they are a simple means of communication. In a world of over 7 billion people, labels are meant to organize and identify each other. For example, in sports, several athletes are asked to take personality tests to see how best they fit dynamics on the field or on the court. And in the office, they're used to set statuses and to see the organization of offices and how they work with each other. Every 10 years, the federal government of the United States sends out a census to label and organize people, to have more accurate statistics, and to apply more accurate governmental policies. And that's simply it. Those are labels. We all enter this world physically looking one way, and thanks to technological and medical advancements, we can all leave this world looking a completely different way. If you do not like the wrapper or sticker label that is being used to describe you, let it be known that you are uncomfortable with it. Some people just need to be a little bit more open-minded, and you can use yourself as an example. Don't let a wrapper or a sticker get in the way of what you can accomplish. For example, the label of being loud can have different connotations to you than it would have for another person. To you, it might mean you being more outspoken or more leader-like, whereas to other people, it comes off as obnoxious and annoying. So if you don't like the wrapper that is being used on you or the sticker that is being used on you, change it. Or fully embrace it, like I've embraced my labels of being a nerd or white or an immigrant or an older sister. I fully embraced all of those, and you should fully embrace yours too. At the end of the day, you are the embodiment of how you define and express your labels. These are my labels. I chose to keep my stickers. I was born with my wrappers, and I am proud of how they all come together to form me. I am not only one of them, I am all of them at the same time. 9 years ago, I had no idea where I would be now. But if you ask me today if I would ever want to change the way I reacted to the new librarian at the Stanaker Neighborhood Library, I would have to say no. Because if it wasn't for how I felt after I had been labeled simply because of one of my wrappers, I would have never been able to truly appreciate my labels and what they mean to me. I encourage you all today and to continue to learn about your labels and how they shape your identity. Thank you.